Good evening, good afternoon, good wherever you are. This is Sunday Streaming. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm only going to be on for probably about a good 30 minutes. I have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to catch up on. I hope all of you are doing super well today, and I hope everybody is having a beautiful Sunday morning.
I have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to catch up on. I hope all of you.
Video, God, every single week. You think at this point I would learn by now, but unfortunately I did not. How's everybody doing? I see already Jax is in the chat. How are you, sir? It's going. So taking questions, shooting the BS, and all that other stuff. Took a week and needed to handle some business and kind of took some time to relax and recharge the battery a little bit. So that's why it's been light on content this past week and all that other good stuff. So hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's chilling, having a great Sunday. What are your thoughts on Iron Fist? All that stuff. I'm asking you guys. What did you think so far? We got through the first 4 or 5 episodes. We got through the first 5 episodes last week on the Iron Fist live stream that I was doing early in the morning, and I enjoyed so far what I saw. First question by Jax BK. Is it better to get the absolute for planetary or the omnibus? Considering the fact that there's 2 absolutes for planetary, excuse me, if I'm not mistaken. There are 2 absolutes at the moment for planetary. The second one, or one of the 2 is out of print. So my recommendation for you is get the omnibus, simply because the omnibus, you can pick it up for like cheap. You can pick up that omnibus for like 35 bucks. It is not a pricey omnibus at all. And it's got the newer print has the better binding, if I'm not mistaken, on it. So so there's that. But my recommendation to you is to definitely pick up the omnibus over the absolute, simply because it's easier to manage and all this other stuff. It's a much tighter package. You're getting the full story. You don't have to worry about anything. It's like, okay, well, the story is there. It's done. I don't need to worry about it. I don't have to hunt down a second absolute. John Cassidy's art in the first half of it is also not that strong. So there's that. The second half is a much stronger not Iron Fist. Oh my gosh, Iron Fist is on my mind. Is a much stronger half art-wise than the first half. Best Iron Fist run, arguably. Well, there's a lot of Iron Fist runs. If you're looking for a place to start with Iron Fist, Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker's run is considered by a lot of fans as the definitive place to start with the character. It's really fun. It's really modern day. It's kind of like a Mortal Kombat story, and I always point people to start with that. If you're looking for a more lighthearted Iron Fist, you definitely want to pick up the Power Man and Iron Fist story that's being written by David Walker right now, which is awesome. It's really hilarious. It's really fun and really tongue-in-cheek. Just what good superhero comics should be. It's one of the few Marvel titles that I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. Hola hardcover. I had some savings this week, and I got the Absolute Wonder Woman for $22.45. How the hell did you get that? Absolute Kingdom Come for $35, and then got the Dark Avengers hardcover for $13. Good job, man. Did you read the new U.S. Avengers issue yet? It's so great. I read the first issue, and I loved it. I haven't read the second issue yet. So about Sandman, Omni or Absolute? That is a very good question. Sandman is brilliant on so many levels, but it's not. I'm actually going to take it down a step further. I think you should pick up the second trade paperback of Sandman and see if it's to your liking. That's going to sound a little bit weird, considering everybody's like, oh my gosh, why are you telling him to start off on trade paperback 2 rather than trade paperback 1 of Sandman? Well, Sandman is structured in a way that you can read all of it with the exception of the last trade, and you will be perfectly fine. You could read it completely out of order. It doesn't matter, because it's a story that takes place in small increments. And there is a bit of a guided through line, but I think the second trade paperback is more of a accurate representation of what that overall book is. So pick up the second trade paperback and see how you feel about it. If you like it, go ahead, pick it up. And of the two, hard. The absolutes are gorgeous. They're some of the most beautiful absolutes that I've owned. I sold them off because I need money. I needed money at the time. But of the two, I say, if you want to save cash, if you're not strapped for cash, then get the absolutes. If you're not strapped for cash, get the absolutes because they're gorgeous. If you are strapped for cash and you want to save yourself a good $100, $150, then I absolutely recommend you pick up the omnibus. The omnibus is, don't sleep on the omnibus because the design of the omnibus is also gorgeous as well. It's a very, very beautiful looking book. Is Preacher still your favorite comic book? Absolutely. That has not changed, and I don't see that changing anytime. Man, I've done the first 4 trade paperbacks of Preacher and need the last 2, but no money cries. So good. Yeah, Preacher really is good. It's really, really good. But Preacher's more than 6 trades. Preacher's like 9 trades. Do you have Batman Ego? Yeah, I have it back here, actually. I quite enjoyed it. It was the pick of the week this past week on Patreon. That video will go up sometime today. On the back of last week's news show, you need to watch Banshee. A lot of familiar themes from Scalped. I'm going to have to check that out. Thanks. I just don't have time for TV. I really don't. Especially like in between like everything going on with YouTube, with my other job, with my car getting wrecked and all this other stuff. It's just been a giant mess this past few weeks. So just got to find time. That's all it is. What are the differences between omnibuses and absolutes? That is a very good question. The difference between an omnibus and an absolute is that an absolute edition is, this is kind of hard. Okay, so an absolute edition is DC's format. That is DC's exclusive format. Marvel does not have an absolute edition. Valiant doesn't have one. Dark Horse doesn't have one. That is a DC thing. And an absolute edition is basically kind of like an omnibus, only 9 times out of 10 it's smaller. You're not going to get an absolute typically with like 30 or 40 issues or anything like that. You're getting an absolute, it'll probably have 15, 20 issues. Sandman pushes it with about close to 25 issues, 24 issues for every single absolute. And they are oversized. They are massive. Like an absolute, obviously not a sense of scale, but an absolute is massive, and it always comes with a slipcase on it. There's loads of special features and things like that. It's basically one giant oversized deluxe edition hardcover where you can see the art. There's usually more commentary. There's usually a lot of special features in the back of it. In terms of it being compared to an omnibus, which one do I prefer? Absolute editions. There's something about seeing the art in just a giant oversized format that, man, it just pops so much more. Still don't know if I should pick up Chris Samney's Daredevil omnibus. Was a bit disappointed about the coloring. Really? Huh. Well, then you probably won't like the run simply because that's the colors. The colors basically stays with them throughout the whole run. How big are the Hellboy library editions compared to an absolute in length? They're just a tiny smidge smaller than an absolute. I just looked at my absolute Court of Owls and my absolute and the Hellboy library editions, and they're a bit smaller in terms of length. Now, in terms of width, are really big. Like they're huge in terms of width. I just picked up Manhunter, Kate Spencer, and singles and trying to make a custom binding through a company. Any advice for assembling the book? If you're in the Omnibus Collectors Facebook group, there is somebody there, and I'm blanking on the name right now, that he does do custom binds. I don't know if he's doing them anymore, because I think I heard that he was like going to Japan or China or something like that, or he's planning to move or look for another job, something along those lines. I don't know if he still does it, but I'm pretty sure if you ask in the group, somebody will point you in the right direction. Me personally, I've never done a custom bind. I've thought about it for certain books, but I've just never bothered with it. Should I get the second volume of the Immortal Iron Fist complete collection as well? Is it as good? The answer to that is I haven't read the second collection, but I've heard it's okay. Nowhere near as great as what Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker did, but it's a solid read nonetheless. Best way to collect Grant Morrison's Batman run: on a lot of drugs. That is the absolute best way to collect Grant Morrison's Batman run. Mostly hallucinogenics. No, the best way to collect Grant Morrison's Batman run is, I'm honestly surprised we still haven't gotten an omnibus set of Grant Morrison's Batman run. Just as much as Grant Morrison is loved in the community, and as much as Grant Morrison is loved by DC Comics, and they love publishing his stuff out, I'm really surprised that we have not gotten a Grant Morrison Batman. So I'm going to say the best format, absolutes, but it doesn't collect everything. The best format right now is you get yourself the trades. And it's not for everybody. A little bit weird. I certainly have my problems with it, but it's good. It's a really solid run overall. Literally just finished the first volume of Hellboy. As a Lovecraft fan, I inevitably loved it. Hey, congrats, man. You're going to love it even more as you go. It gets weirder and more twisted as you get through it. Dun, dun, dun. Why do some people hate John Romita Jr.'s art so much? What do you think of him? I don't hate John Romita Jr.'s art. John Romita Jr., for a lot of people, he's got a very blocky style, and that's a style that is kind of a throwback to the 80s and 90s. It's not for everybody, obviously. I personally think his style has gotten worse as the years have gone on. I like the stuff that he did when he was doing Daredevil, and I think that by far is the strongest stuff that he has ever done. That was when he was on top of his game. But, if you watch interviews with him, he says that his art style is get the job done. So basically, it's like, that's my art style. But he says that. He's like, my art style is just to get the job done. So with that said, not exactly the best mindset. That means you're kind of just rushing through it. And yeah, there are times where you look at his paneling and the way his art is, and it just looks really stiff for my taste. I don't hate it. I'm kind of just indifferent about it. It's just really stiff, and it's not for me. I don't really like it. Dylan's the company I was thinking of using. I'm nervous about making my own cover art. This is in regards to the question he posted earlier in regards to custom binding. Honestly, I wish I could help you, but I have never done a custom bind. I've toyed with the idea. I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I never done it. I've never done it. I'm sorry, I can't help you there. Favorite and least favorite part of being a comic collector? My favorite part is, in a way, the escapism, the just getting invested and getting thrown into a world that is just so far out there, so different than your own, or a world that is relatable to you. It's definitely just that escapism, because for the most part, we all go to work, we all wake up, eat breakfast, go to work. We have the little hobbies and we have the little things that are in between there. And, we have our escapes, we go to the gym, things like that. We play video games and all that other stuff. But the escapism for me is why I love comics so much. It's the fact that in 30 minutes or an hour, I can just get away from everything. I could just lay all my problems behind, and I could just enjoy what some writer created in some world. And I also love the fact that the budget is limitless when you think about it. For video games, they have a budget. For movies, they have a budget. For even music, there is a budget. For comics, the limit really is the mind. That whatever you can conceive, you write it down on paper, and if an artist can draw it, which 9 times out of 10 they can, then you don't have to worry about it. The downside. The downside is the burnout. And what I mean by burnout is I've been doing this a long time. I've been reading comics for a long time, and I'm starting to notice that I'm becoming kind of like the cynical old grump a little bit because I've been reading so much. Like Marvel does another event, and I'm like, oh god, another fucking event. I've seen this before. I've seen it a million times. Or I read a comic, and I'm like, well, I know where this story is going. There's really no originality here. I know, okay, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. Stuff like that. You get burned out by it, and you get tired of it. And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm starting to feel a little bit of a burnout, which is why when that happens, what I tend to do is I tend to do a little bit of spring cleaning where I sell some books, I get rid of some things, and I start reshifting my focus, and then I come back to it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop this YouTube channel, far from it. What it means is that I slow down on my reading, and I slow down and just kind of step back a little bit on things and things related to reading comics and start focusing more on other hobbies. I still read, I still enjoy it, just I'm not reading the huge stack that I usually read a month. I'm reading just like the bare minimum. Have you experienced any issues with the Nintendo Switch? Really want to pick one up for my birthday. I have not. I love the Nintendo Switch. Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn? Opinions? Yes. I'm actually almost done with Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I have like a handful of more missions and I'm almost done. Rest in peace, Bernie Wrightson. Another great legend lost. That is so true. Hold on, my dog is barking. Okay, let's get back on it. Have you ever picked up a book and then regretted it? Yes. Have I ever picked up a book and regretted it? Most of Chris Ware's work, Jimmy Corrigan. Well, I've said this countless of times. Does nothing for me. Not a fan of Chris Ware. Not a fan of his work. And yeah, most of the time I give him a shot, and I'm just like, it does not for me, man. What will you do on your 30th birthday? Well, that's not for another 3 years, so I don't know. Rest in peace. Yeah, Bernie Wrightson, man, that's so tragic to lose such a comic legend. His Frankenstein is, ugh. I'm going to my first comic book convention soon. What do you usually do at conventions? That's interesting. Mostly what I do is kind of window shop and buy stuff. I'm not somebody that's there for the celebrities. Like, I really don't give two shits about like Lou Ferrigno showing up or Hulk Hogan or the cast of Firefly showing up. It's just not my thing. And by the way, if you are somebody there that's going for the celebrities, okay, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, if you're hyped up to see Norman Reedus or Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead, then far be it for me to say you're wrong for going there. I mean, do what you love. Go and enjoy it. But that doesn't appeal to me. I'm mostly there for the bargains, to hunt for books, to enjoy the cosplays, to just enjoy the general atmosphere. Me and my girl, we're planning to go actually in a few weeks. MegaCon. And that's going to be really fun. I love MegaCon. MegaCon is the big convention here in South Florida. It's the biggest convention in South Florida, and we have a blast enjoying it. But that's about it. That's the extent. I mean, I attend a few panels and things like that. Like, if there's an artist or a writer that is having a panel, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Or if there's like an artist or a writer that I really appreciate, I will go up to them. I'll get something signed. I do stuff like that. But as far as like the big celebrity panels, like here's the Star Trek cast or here's the cast of like Harry Potter or something like that, it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I don't really want to waste my time sitting in a chair all day. What's your thoughts on Iron Fist, muchacho? I was doing the live stream on Friday. Overall, I didn't like it. My question is not that I don't like it. It's slow, really slow. But I got up to or 4 in that ballpark, and it picked up. It did get a lot better. I do think that you can obviously tell Marvel. You can obviously tell Marvel knew they kind of had a stinker on their hands because the promotion for this, for at least for me, on social media, on different websites and things like that, has been almost non-existent. If you noticed, like when Luke Cage was coming out, when Jessica Jones was coming out, when Daredevil was coming out, the promotion on it was everywhere. They were pimping the hell. I could not open up a website without seeing a logo for the new Netflix show. It was either Luke Cage or it was Jessica Jones or something like that. It's almost nowhere. It's kind of like Marvel went, well, fuck. You know, this one's kind of a dud. It's not going how we expected it. We thought this would be more popular. Early reviews have come out. It's not that great. Let's not put the budget so much into promoting it. Yeah, the hardcore fans, they'll watch it. They'll sit through it. But overall, this seems like it's more of a show that's going to be leading up to the Defenders more than anything else. And when you think about it, it really doesn't have its own identity. It doesn't have its own style. It doesn't really have its own je ne sais quoi. You know, it doesn't have that uniqueness to it. Jessica Jones was about a PI, and it dealt with a lot of really, really dark shit. It dealt with a lot of really dark topics. Luke Cage was about the streets. It was about living in a predominantly Hispanic and black neighborhood, something that hasn't been touched on in the Marvel universe. Daredevil, you know, it was the first introduction to like the Hand. It was the first introduction to being a street level hero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was the first gritty Marvel thing. And I'm not counting Blade or anything like that because Blade isn't in the main cinematic universe. Fresh air. It was different. Iron Fist just seems like it's Arrow. It really just seems like it's kind of like a poor man's Arrow, and from what I've seen so far. But it is getting better. It's getting a lot better as I go throughout it, and you know, who knows? Maybe as it goes on, it picks up. I have heard that the episode that the RZA directs, which I think is episode 6, is the best episode so far, which does not surprise me. If you've seen his films and things like that, it shouldn't surprise you either. He loves kung fu movies. The choreography on it, oh my god, wow, the choreography is bad. Like oh man, the actor Finn Jones, dude, no, the choreography is really bad. Like, and props. Okay, the choreography for him is pretty bad. Colleen Wing, the actress that plays her, I believe I read somewhere she's actually a real martial artist, and I can kind of see it because I think her choreography is a lot better. She just seems like she handles her own a lot better than Iron Fist. But there was one particular scene where she's at cage fighting and she puts a guy in an armbar. I'm like, that armbar is so fucking loose that guy would not even have a problem just pulling it out. Wow, what's with the middle finger? Batman Rocks Bloodshot Reborn is amazing. Yeah, it's really slow, but I've watched the whole season, and to be honest, the series is just okay as well. That's cool. You do MMA. I do jiu-jitsu. Yeah, it's really slow hardcover, but I watched the whole season, and to be honest, the series is just okay as well. Fight scenes are effing garbage in comparison to Daredevil. Have you read Blueberry? No, I haven't. You still haven't answered my question. What's with the fucking middle finger? Off on my channel, you might as well tell me or I'll just ban you. Hello from France. Hey, how's it going, man? Have you pre-ordered Absolute Preacher Volume 2? No, I haven't. I plan to, though. I plan to pick up Absolute Preacher, like I've already said. Preacher happens to be my favorite comic of all time, and that doesn't plan to change anytime soon. And I was super impressed with the first Absolute edition of Preacher. It's awesome. It's probably my favorite collection that I've ever had. I mean, just the amount of special features is great. What superhero movie are you most excited for this year? Minus Logan, since that came out already. My favorite superhero movie that I'm most excited. Probably Guardians. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I just want to see if they pull it off and they can capture kind of that magic from Guardians Volume 1. Because Guardians Volume 1 was and still is my favorite superhero movie of all time. Like, I love you know what? But Logan isn't a superhero movie. I would actually argue that Logan is not a superhero movie. It's a modern day Western more than anything else. Like, you could strip away, for the most part, you could strip away the powers and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, what you would have is a story about a girl that is escaping, that is with her father, and is on the run from a government agency. At its core, it is a father-daughter story, and it's a Western. And you could strip away a lot of the elements that are supernatural and a lot of the elements that are, over the top and comic booky, and it would still, in a lot of ways, work. I love your channel and Marvel Omnibus. What are the next big release to you? I'm French. Oh, hey, how's it going, man? And the next big Marvel Omnibus release, probably Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, because it has the first appearance of Mobius, and I love Mobius. So that'll be really cool. What was your favorite scene in Logan? Mine was the horses. My favorite scene in Logan was the dinner table scene. Because throughout the whole movie, we are getting these moments where they are constantly on the run. They're just boom, 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 going, 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 going. And James Mangold is really, really fucking good at this. James Mangold knew that we're going to exhaust the audience if we just keep up this pace. So let's slow down. Let's introduce this family. Let's build the tension a little bit because we know this is not going to go well. We know that him sitting here with this family and with Charles and with X-23 is just not going to end well for them. It just isn't. It can't, story-wise. But throughout that whole scene, you're getting moments of levity. You're getting moments of relief. You're getting moments of character development where these characters are finally getting to interact without having to worry about somebody beating down the door every second. I love that scene. That is my favorite scene in that whole movie. But at the same time, you as a viewer, there's always that little nagging bit in the back of your head that's going, this can't last. Like, this cannot go well because story-wise, there has to be more confrontation because I haven't finished it. So there's always that little bit that you're just like, oh my God, I really don't want this to go topsy-turvy. I don't want this to go pear-shaped and for this family to get hurt and for Logan, who seems like he's finally finding a little bit of peace in this moment, for it to go away. And that is the genius of that scene. I love that scene. I absolutely love it. Part of the reason why I like Quentin Tarantino so much is because Quentin Tarantino is a master of, and yeah, you can argue that his dialogue and he needs editing and things like that, and he's got issues with stealing from people because he does. Quentin Tarantino is a thief. He is hands down a thief. He's openly admitted it. He steals, but he steals and he gives you a better product. That's what I like about Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino is good at slowing the pace down, giving you a 10, 12, 15-minute dialogue scene, and throughout that whole thing, it's building tension. Throughout that whole thing, it's just the tension is building, and he's cranking the screw, and he's cranking the screw, and when it finally releases, you get a big blown-out action scene. When you think about it, Inglourious Basterds is just all about that. It's a series of shots inside of a room, and tension building with dialogue, and then a blown-up action scene. I don't worry about it, man. I mean, at least you explained yourself. I thought you were just being a dick, Connie, but you're good. Don't worry. My favorite submission in jiu-jitsu. Let me think. It's a toss-up. I love the Kimura. I absolutely love the Kimura. Kimura is typically one of my go-to. Um, Kimura or Triangle are two of my go-tos. I love Kimura and I love Triangle. Armbar? Okay. When you get bored of comics, what will be your next hobby? I don't think I'll ever 100% get bored out of comics. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream that I'm starting to feel a little bit of the burnout, which is why I've paced myself a little bit back more. I'm doing that right now where I'm slowing things down. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm investing more time in video games and in films and things like that, and I'm shifting my focus onto something a little bit more. Do you think an omnibus format gets carried away with content? I know omnibus collections like Invisibles are unwieldy. Would something like that have been better read broken up? Yes, I think too much can be too much. I think you can absolutely have way too much going on in terms of an omnibus or in terms of an absolute edition. When you cram too much stuff that the binding starts breaking and it starts creaking, it's just it just becomes a pain. Really, I didn't know that. I need to read up on that. It said that they were supposed to reference Killing Gene. I'm okay. I can see that the table scene in Logan. I can see that. I can honestly see that in the table scene in Logan. But at the same time, I think it would have been a bit too much. That table scene was more meant to break up the tension and break up the action scenes and give the audience a chance to breathe and give the audience a little bit of levity and to develop these characters a little bit more. So for them to not do that, for them to, let's just go full dark, oh yeah, Gene died and all this other stuff, I think in a way it would have been a bit too much for that scene. Because they're trying to blend in. They are trying to blend in with this average family. Am I selling my collection for a bag of Skittles to you? No, 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 no. I'm not selling you my collection for a bag of Skittles right now. Sorry, man. Please, please, please watch Banshee. You won't regret it. Trust me. I will watch. Okay, I will watch an episode of Banshee. I promise, Jax. And I will message you on Patreon and tell you what I think. Let's see. What else we got? Like you, I'm getting a bit bored of repetitive story structure. Okay. It's about a year since I've started collecting comics, and I still have the drive to catch up on various content. Like you, I'm getting bored of the repetitive story structure, so a break from comics is needed every now and then. Absolutely. I think you can't just have comics as like your only hobby and your only escape and the only thing that like lets you get through the day or things like that. I think if you do that, you're gonna get burned out. Too much of anything is bad. Like too much of pizza is bad. Too much of ice cream is bad. Too much of anything will eventually get you tired of it and burned out. And that's where I was a few weeks ago, where I started to notice, okay, I'm burned out. I'm starting to not enjoy comics as much as I used to. Let me scale back. Let me do the bare minimum. Let me read what I have to read so I can do YouTube videos. And then once that's done, I can come back to it with more full force. Let me focus my mind on something else. Let me focus some passions on something else. That happens. That happens. And I think if you are going to stay into this for the long haul, you have to do that every once in a while. Do you think Christopher Nolan should make another comic book film? I really doubt he will. If yes, what character? That is a very good question. Do I think Christopher Nolan should make another comic book film? Now that you mentioned Christopher Nolan, I have a lot of editing to do, so I think what I might do is I might put on Inception. Do I think he'll make another comic book film? I think he's past it. I mean, he still does genre stuff. I'm super excited for Dunkirk because Dunkirk is not a genre thing. He's going back to his roots because Christopher Nolan for a while has been doing a lot of genre sci-fi stuff. When his first film, I think his first film, if I'm not mistaken, was Memento. It was a crime story. Like a little bit of the whole mind trick to it and everything like that, and it's backwards and all this other stuff, but it's a crime story at its heart. And I'm excited to see him go back into his roots and do Dunkirk, which is a war movie. And God, I can't wait to see that. I cannot wait to see Dunkirk. It's rumored that he does Akira. It was rumored that he was going to do Akira, but he did Dunkirk. I hope he does Akira afterwards. If you do Akira, it's got to be a multi-movie thing. Akira would have to. Akira is so huge in scale that you just cannot do Akira unless you do like the anime movie. And let me tell you, after reading through the manga, Akira the anime pales in comparison to the greatness of the manga. Now that's not knocking the anime because the anime is one of the greatest animes of all time, and my dog scared the shit out of me just now. But it pales, absolutely pales in comparison. Speaking of war films, HC, did you see Hacksaw Ridge? No, I want to see Hacksaw Ridge. I'm a fan of Mel Gibson as a director and in some ways as an actor. As a person, I think he can be kind of a shitty person, but I'm one of those people that I can typically separate my my enjoyment of the person's work with the person. You know, if that makes sense. Like the fact that he is, you know, a racist and all this other stuff, and he's got his issues going on and things like that, or you know, I can separate that and enjoy the man's work. But I've been wanting to see Hacksaw Ridge. I heard it was really good. Have I seen Evil Dead the series? I have not. I want to though. I have 6 comics. Is that a good collection? Man, a collection is what you make it out to be. If you have 2 comics, you already started a collection. What is my favorite dish? I like this. Okay. My favorite dish. See, I was raised mostly in Texas, so I'm a barbecue kind of guy. So my favorite dish would probably be brisket. Yeah, I've been wanting to see Hacksaw Ridge. I really have. I've wanted to see that, and I've been wanting to see Moonlight. What I might do actually is that I got editing to do, so I might sit down and instead of I might just watch Moonlight instead because I've been dying to watch it. I've heard it's amazing. Apparently, Jeff Johns' Green Lantern Omnibuy are going out of print. Is that true? Wow. I hope not. Those are great. Those are the best green. That is the Green Lantern story. Like you could, I would. Well, New Frontier also. It's also a really strong Green Lantern story, but Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run is the definitive Green Lantern. Like it's going to be one of those runs where 10, 20 years from now, we're going to be looking back on comics and going, man, what was the best run of like the 2000s and of that era? It's going to be up there. Have I seen the Evil Dead series? No, I have not. I haven't seen the Evil Dead series. I wanted to. Your dog sounds like you could take him to a drug deal. He's a big. He's not that big. He's Sharpei Red Nose. Yeah, Old Duke is a Sharpei Red Nose pit, but he's just a big cuddle bug. Yeah, my dog is just a giant cuddle bug. That's all he is. I swear he thinks he's like 3 feet tall. He thinks he's tiny. Get my charger real quick. I'll be right back. Ugh. Good Green Lantern runs after John's. The new stuff isn't bad. The DC Rebirth stuff is actually pretty good. Is 20th Century Boys still your favorite manga? As of this moment, yes, but I'm going through Berserk right now, and it's catching up to it. Favorite story in Superman American Alien? It would probably have to be the Deathstroke story, the one involving where Superman lands on the boat and they think he's Bruce Wayne and all that. That was a really fun story. Can you jump into Rebirth comics from Sakura Darling? Wow, you've been around for a while. I just remembered that. Wow. Can I jump into the Rebirth comics without knowing too much about the character? Yes, absolutely. The whole point of Rebirth is that you can jump into it and you can enjoy it. So you don't have to worry about anything. I always recommend that people pick up the Superman Rebirth titles because they've been the best Superman stories in a very long time. Did you ever get any fist fights in school? You know what? I never really got into any fist fights in school. Never did. I kind of just kept to myself. I was a pretty quiet person. I'm still a quiet person today. But I never really got involved in any fist fights or any brawls or anything like that. Person. I wasn't the type of person either that. No, I take it back. In middle school, I got picked on a lot. I did get picked on a lot in middle school, but in high school, I lost a bunch of weight. I started getting along with a lot of people, things like that. And my perception changed, and I hanged out with basically everybody. I hanged out with the jocks. I hanged out with the nerds. I hanged out with the video game guys. Basically, I was just a jack of all trades in high school. Mostly because I wasn't a dick. Back to that Rebirth comment, though. Must read Rebirth titles. Some of the must read Rebirth titles. Good. Flash is definitely a must read. Flash has been really good. They've just been killing it with Flash. Detective Comics, I reviewed that like probably 2 weeks ago. That's the best Batman book on the stands. How are you budgeting for September through December? DC Comics Collections Department finally getting their shit together. Now I have too much stuff I want to buy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, it's, oh, God. That month is going to be, those months are going to be ridiculous for a lot of people. But I typically just buy what I want, like right away. And if I don't absolutely want to have it, or if I don't think it'll do well on the YouTube channel, then I just don't bother with it. Or I hold off on it, things like that. That typically helps. It helps when this basically becomes kind of a business for you, because now because of Patreon, I have to file taxes every 3 months. And I have to go through that whole process, and I have to do write-offs and things like that. So all the books that I buy, I can write them off on taxes. So there's that. That's the benefit of it. Do you think we're ever going to get an Omega Man Absolute? Absolutely possible. I hope so. I think the series definitely deserves it. How unhealthy is it to collect omnibuses or books in general as a trophy? I've seen people like to complain about this. That's a really good question. My mindset on it is enjoy your collection for what it is. Enjoy it for whatever way you want to do it. You know, you've got the expendable income, you've got the money, do you, boo-boo. Like, do whatever the fuck you want, you know? If you want to buy a $400 omnibus that's massively out of print, even though chances are it'll get a reprint eventually, and you want to display it with LED lights, with daylights, whatever the fuck light you want, and you want it just glistening in your room, fucking A, man, do it. You have every single right to do it. But at the same time, if you are one of those guys that just buys in bulk, that buys 30 or 40 omnibuses because you know it's going to be a huge ticket item that you can resell, you are kind of a bit of an asshole in my book. Like I'm not a fan of those people. Because if you buy 30 or 40 omnibuses in the hopes that, one day I'm going to be able to resell this, what you are doing, and it goes out of print, what you are doing is you are taking it away from somebody that can potentially buy it and wants to buy that work. Like Annihilation. Take Annihilation, for example. Okay, we'll use this. Annihilation, super hot omnibus right now, right? Incredibly fucking hard to find omnibus right now. It's a bitch for a lot of people. Everybody asks me, when the fuck are we getting an Annihilation reprint? I did a video on this last week. I did one, and it was actually a really popular video, which means your guys are going to get more of as hardcover videos, because that was really popular. I kind of took inspiration from that, actually, from Colin Was Right. But let's take that. All right. So Annihilation comes out, we get a reprint of it. We get a reprint, say about 8,000, right? Not that much of a reprint. Just throwing a fucking number out there. I don't know what is or isn't a huge reprint number. I'm not that versed into that world. Some jackass goes out there, buys 20 of them. Within 2 months, the omnibus is out of print. Now you got somebody that was like, fuck, I have a budget, I cannot break my budget, but if I save up enough in 2 months, I'll be able to afford this. What you did was, because you want to be a dick and you want to play the market, omnibus from somebody else. Like, period. That's basically what you did. You are stopping somebody from enjoying content and reading content. These books are meant to be read. These books are meant to be enjoyed. They are meant to be enjoyed. At the end of the day, these are books. These are comics. You're supposed to read them. You are supposed to enjoy them. If you have 30 or 40, and okay, I'm not dogging these people. I really am not. I swear to you, I'm not. That's great. We'll have your collection however you want to. Honestly, have it however you want to. It's great if you want to have it. But I see a lot of people out there, they have 40 or 50 omnibuses sitting on their shelves, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, when the fuck are you actually going to read that? Like, if you are a responsible adult, you have the time, you have the effort, and when are you going to find time to read all that? I do this as part-time, and I still don't have the time to read all this. If all you're doing is just to collect and to have it in bulk and to buy 13 or 14 omnibuses just to have it sitting in there in the hopes of reselling it one day, I'm against that. I really am. Now, if you're somebody that just likes to buy them, you know what? Spend the money. Spend the money however you want to spend the money. That's perfectly fine. That's cool. I get it. I'm not one to judge. It seems like it's a bit of a waste of money. And I used to have that mindset. I used to, honest to God, like 3 or 4 years ago, I had that mindset where I was just buying books like crazy. I was just buying. And all I would end up having was a huge credit card bill, was little income inside of the bank account, and I had a whole bunch of books that I never had time for, that they would just sit on shelves. So that's why I did a massive purge. I sold a whole bunch of them, and that's kind of what I've been doing lately. If you've been following me in the Omnibus Collectors Facebook group, I've been selling a lot of stuff lately because I'm looking at it and going, I'm never going to read this. So, time to sell. I do that every like 1 or 2 years. I think publishers play into the this whole system, printing limited numbers. I do too. I think they, I think that they absolutely do play into it. Is the new Hawkeye run any good? I've heard it's good. The Jeff Lemire stuff, I've heard it's not bad. It's actually pretty good, which reminds me, this next week's review will be Essex County. That was the one that won out in the Patreon vote, where the patrons get to vote once a month for a book that I will review. So next week, I'm going to be reviewing Essex County. I know a lot of people have been asking me to just review Essex County. Like Matt Miranda, Nick has asked me, a few people in the chat have asked me before, when are you going to read and review Essex County? So I'll review that for next week. All right, so I think I'll take one more question. I'll take one more question in the chat. Let me see. I'm waiting for a really good question. Like a really, really good question, then I'll do it. Okay, you know what? I'll do this one. I like this one. Okay, I'll do two more questions. Jax PK asks, "What's my dog's name?" Duke. Lloyd Wong. I really like this question. Wait, was it Lloyd wrong? No. Ragev6787. When you sell stuff, do you feel guilt or is it okay for you? At the end of the day, it's just stuff. Like at the end of the day, I can't. In the limited time that I'm here on Earth, I know a lot of you guys know that I'm atheist and things like that, but in the small amount of time that I am available on this Earth, stuff. So if I want to sell it, okay, I sell it. I won't feel any guilt for it. You know? I don't feel guilt because I sold something, and I don't feel guilt or bummed out because I'm like, ah, damn, you know, I had to sell this or anything like that. At the end of the day, it's just stuff. That's really all it is. It's cool stuff, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the comics that I read and things like that. But as I'm getting older, and whole philosophical mumbo jumbo type thing with you guys, but as I get older, I'm realizing that it's just stuff. Yeah. As long as somebody else is enjoying it, I'm cool with it. It's just stuff, and I'm not going to be able to take any of that stuff with me. You know? Am I going to buy the Invincible figures? No. No. No, I don't plan to. I don't plan to buy the Invincible figures right now. I'm not a big figure guy, but I'm not a big figure guy. That's not my bag. That's more of a Geo and Jess and all those guys. They're the big figure guys. Dun, 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 dun. Boy, what a mess that whole Colin Moriarty situation is. I'm only saying that because I just saw it on like a recommended video. I just beat Bioshock Infinite, and I've been eyeballing that Booker DeWitt pop you have. Ha! That's awesome. Take it easy, Jax. I have too many pops and not enough room for them. That seems to be the overall consensus of a lot of people. What's the purpose of Absolute Y Book 3? I thought they finished the story in number 2. I'm pretty sure they didn't. I think number 2 only covers up to 40-something. I'm not sure. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and end this. Guys, once again, I know a few of you in here also donated to my GoFundMe to help me out with the whole car situation. For those of you that didn't hear, my car was hit by a semi-truck. I'm good. My family's good. Everybody's good. We were fortunate. Nobody got hurt. Nobody was injured. Anything like that. I just got to pay $500 for the deductible of my car, simply because the cop said that I was at fault because of a yield sign that was like ridiculously far back. Oh, really? Joe Rogan's gonna have Colin on his show. That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, in closing comments, that was a whole, since that's been going around all over the internet. That was a whole real bad situation. I mean, I can see both sides of the argument very much. And I guess I'll close with this because I mean I've been actually on it, going back and forth with it, and I'm curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are on it. Don't know. Colin Moriarty is a very popular games journalist. He does the YouTube site Kind of Funny Games and Kind of Funny, and on International Women's Day, which is a day to celebrate women, to celebrate the greatness of women, and to celebrate how much they help us and things like that, and all that other stuff, and to show the influence that women have in our culture, he decided to tweet out women, peace and quiet, or something along those lines. The shitstorm that he got for it was amazing. It was, I have never seen a shitstorm that big for 4 words. Like, it was crazy how much hate the guy got. Was the joke in poor taste? Do I disagree with it? Absolutely. I think the joke was absolutely in poor taste. I think he picked a real bad day to do it, but as well, he also, like, I saw him on the Rubin Report, and he justifies his point of view pretty well, and I see both sides. It was just a bad day, man. That was just a really poor choice. And from a business standpoint, it was a bad call. It was a real bad call from a business standpoint, because now you're putting workers and your fellow people that own the business on the spot because you represent that business. So that in turn led Greg Miller to put out a statement saying, hey, look, we don't agree with this. Da, 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 da. We talked over with Colin. We just don't agree with it. I get Greg's decision to do it from a business standpoint. I get that. I, honest to God, do. His friend under the bus. Yes, in a certain way. In a certain way, he did. He did throw him under the bus in a certain way. He didn't necessarily back him up on the whole decision, and he got a lot of shit for that poorly written tweet. I'm not defending the tweet at all. I think personally that it was in poor taste. It was a bad day to do it, and it was just a dumb move on his part. But at the same time, he has the right to say whatever the fuck he wants. He does. Like, he really does. But people also have the right to call him out on it. And so when people started calling him out on it, and this is the part that a lot of people aren't reporting on, I'm not really mad at the tweet. I'm mad at the other thing that he posted, which was, if you don't like the tweet, then you're a humorless shitbag, which was the general gist of it. And I'm like, well, I didn't like the tweet. Am I a humorless shitbag? Like, the first tweet I didn't give a fuck about. Like, that was the one where I was like, dude, your boy just did damage control. Because that was after Greg Miller put out that statement. And then you say, if you don't like the tweet, you're a humorless shitbag. Which, again, kind of shot his friend in the foot. So it is just a giant mess. And that's basically where I stand on it, where I can see definitely both points of view. Where from a business standpoint, I get what Greg did. And I get that he had to go out and say, look, we don't necessarily represent this, you know, we don't want to be associated with this. Yes, he did kind of throw him under the bus. But I also get Colin's point, where it was a harmless tweet of 4 words. Was it in poor taste? Was it poorly done? Was it a real bad day to do it? Yes. The reply to that tweet with the humorless shitbag thing, I was like, that was a bad move. Because your boy just did damage control, and now you're trying to undo the damage control. And I can see where they kind of butted heads. And at the end of the day, they decided to go their separate ways. It sucks, but it happens. So there's that. I know. I actually got a few messages like, hey, what'd you think of this? Like, on my personal Twitter and on my Facebook page, hey, what'd you think of the whole situation with Colin? And there you go. For those of you that are wondering, I don't really have a side. I see kind of both sides of it. And seeing as I treat this as a business, what I do, I see Greg's point of view of him getting pissed off, but at the same time, Colin has the right to say whatever the fuck he wants. So there's that. All right. So really excited to hear him on the Joe Rogan podcast. So with that said, thank you guys so much for checking out this channel. Thank you for checking out my video. Thank you for joining me in this Q&A. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff coming up and all that other stuff. So check out my other content, guys. Check out my reviews, a whole bunch of other things that are coming out. Like, there's so much going on. So check that out. And you could follow me on Facebook and Twitter. It's going to be found in the description below. And if you want more content, and if you want to discuss more things with me, and if you like what I do and you want to support this channel, Patreon is found in the description below. For as little as $1 a month, get some exclusive videos. Love you guys. Have a great week. Bye.